All right, well, welcome everyone to the August PSV meeting where we're going to be discussing active listening part 2. We went over active listening part 1 last month in a brief video that we sent out to you all. If you had a chance to look at that, great. If you didn't, no worries at all. We've gotten some great feedback from volunteers asking about the responsibilities for PSVs, and we just want to let you know that we're on it. We'll be talking briefly today and then more in depth in another meeting, hopefully in October. So today we're going to go over the role of a peer support volunteer. We'll have a brief active listening training. We'll have a free-form discussion in the breakout rooms. Then we'll have a full group discussion where we all come back. We'll check in with each other, see how everyone's going. And then if we have time, hopefully we'll be able to jump into a game of Jeopardy where the winner will receive an item from the CLF store of their choice. And then afterwards, probably tomorrow, look for a follow-up email. It'll have all the resources that we've talked about in this meeting and anything else that you might need to know. So the CLF Mentorship Program, what is it? The mentorship program is where people who have gone through the journey of having a concussion, been a caregiver for someone who has a concussion or has had a concussion, or someone who's a caregiver for someone with suspected CTE or has been a caregiver. We match you from volunteering your time with those who are just going through their journey to offer peer support. Now, what is peer support? Peer support is one person giving their life experience, advice, and tips to another. Why do we do these trainings? So that way you guys can have interpersonal connection tools at your use when you're, communicating with your mentee or discussing new options that they might have, or just having a general understanding of how they're feeling and how to interact with someone. Today, we're going to do a high-level overview of the active listening, key concepts, benefits, tools, and next steps. I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you for showing up and making time for this training. I know that time is valuable, especially during the summer months, and especially with those who have already gone back to school. And at the end of the training, we have source material that if anybody's interested in, please reach out to me and I'll send that out to you. So what does a peer support volunteer do? This is in your guidelines for that we send to you, but a peer support volunteer shares personal experiences, provides an empathetic ear free of judgment, schedules times to connect, and asks CLF to step in whenever needed. What doesn't a peer support volunteer do? We don't expect you guys to do mental health counseling. We don't expect you guys to do crisis intervention or prevention. We don't expect you to do detailed resource facilitation, and we don't expect you to provide medical, legal, or financial advice. All of these are either the helpline or more professional providers that we have lists of. So especially for number 2 and 3, please notify and rely on the CLF team for these. If you are ever in need of resources, please reach out to me, Mike, or Taya. We will get those to you and give you as much support as we possibly can. If you have any questions in regards to these, please let me know at any time. We're going to bring in an on-call behavioral health expert as soon as possible, possibly in October, to present on the difference between mental health care and peer support, including the value peer support offers. And we'll be sure to leave time for questions and answers during that meeting. So before we jump into our training topic, the question that we can ask ourselves is, how can we best give support to our mentees through listening? Listening is a skill. We all know someone who makes us feel heard and understood. Validation, meaning affirmation that a person's feelings are understandable and worthwhile, is an important outcome of good listening. Let's go over the definition of active listening. Listening with the intent to understand the other person fully, then providing appropriate feedback to demonstrate shared understanding. So what this means is that you're listening to understand and then respond. Typically, a lot of people jump into a conversation and we listen to just respond. We already have a response formed in our head. It's our first instinct to offer advice or reassurance and explain our own position and feelings. Listening to respond leaves us at risk of making inaccurate assumptions. This makes it harder to show authentic empathy and truly understand what someone is saying. We must slow down to ensure we understand their meaning before responding. So let's go over the ways that we listen to one another. First, we have downloading. Downloading is when we're only listening to things on a surface level. Most often, things we already know. It's obvious our attention is only partial to the speaker. Factual. When we are factual, it means that we're only looking for facts within the words of the speaker. This is the opposite of empathy and is to be avoided during connections. It can cause the speaker to feel unheard in their emotions. Empathetic. This is the level of listening that we try to obtain. It shows that you're listening to the person, not just the facts or things you already know. When this level is achieved, the speaker is more likely to feel heard and understood. And lastly, we have generative. Being generative, the listener moves beyond connecting with the speaker. They start to connect with core ideas and the conversation of their potential futures. They are fully focused on helping to bring the best possible future into being. Usually, this level is best achieved by counselors, therapists, and psychologists rather than peer support volunteers. One way to visualize the levels of listening is through this chart right here. So at the bottom, we have ignoring, where it's self-explanatory and you're just ignoring what someone's saying. We have pretend listening, where it's yeah, okay, and kind of not really paying attention. We have selective listening, where our downloading and factual listening comes into play. We have attentive, that kind of borderlines right between downloading and factual, and then right at the top, we have active listening, where empathetic and generative listening takes for. I wanted to show you this progression of listening to show why active listening is an important topic. Active listening is a top-level performance of listening, and we strive to give the best support possible to our mentees. Let's quickly go over the components of active listening. First, we have comprehension, which is listen to understand. Second, we have retention. Take a moment about what was said and the information provided. And third, we have response, providing appropriate feedback to demonstrate mutual understanding. Using these three components will almost guarantee you an empathetic level of active listening. And a good way to kind of remember these is by using a stoplight. So first, step, red, comprehension, listen to understand. Yellow, pause, take a moment, think about what was said. And then green, give your appropriate feedback. You're good to go. What are the benefits of active listening? First, we have empathy. Active listening encourages the speaker to put their attention on themselves and focus on articulating their emotions. This helps you show authentic empathy, where you truly understand and relate to their feelings. Next, you have companionship. Showing authentic empathy can help mentees feel like they're navigating difficulties in the company of a caring listener. Third, we have relief. Helping someone feel heard and validated can ease emotional burdens by reducing stress, confusion, and isolation. And lastly, we have empowerment. When these three benefits come together, they provide greater self-esteem and self-awareness simply through your willingness to hear them. This is our active listening checklist. We've sent this in previous emails, and the link is in the video description. In the summary email that we're going to send out to you. It is a really great tool to use to check in to see if you're using active listening. To be clear, this is not mandatory. You don't need to fill it out. You don't need to send it back. It's just a helpful aid in case you wanted to review when connecting with mentees to see if there's any areas you can improve or some things you're checking off that you can say, hey, I've done that. So thank you all for the brief training. We're going to try something new today. And I'm going to bring in my lovely assistant, Mike, who is going to portray the mentee in these scenarios. Now, these three scenarios are just examples, individual situations, and can't occur for everything that's going on or every situation. But if you can gather any information from it, please do so. So, Mike, if you'd like to take it away.
Hi, Tyler. I'm feeling alone and isolated. I don't feel like anyone understands what I'm going through, and even doctors just are passing me along.
Mike, that sounds really hard being alone and isolated. Can you tell me more about what you mean?
Well, I have throbbing headaches, my vertigo makes me nauseous, and I have to wear sunglasses even when I'm inside because my eyes are so sensitive. My doctor says I just need to rest in a dark room and I'll be okay in a couple of days, but it's been months and no one understands what I'm going through.
I'm sorry to hear that, Mike. It sounds like you're saying that none of your doctors, friends, or family really understand the situation and symptoms of what you're going through. Is that the case? So in this scenario, letting them know you understand them and talk about ways that they might be able to help others understand based on your personal experiences can be very, very valuable. And this is the part where we jump in and say, hey, would you like to hear something that I've tried? Or, this is a tip that I use and it was really helpful to me. Next, we'll go on to our concussion caregivers.
I'm feeling really frustrated. My son's doctors don't seem to be helping with his symptoms and he's falling behind in school.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a tough situation. Can you tell me more about what's happening?
Well, I'm really worried that if his symptoms don't clear up soon and his school doesn't start cutting him more slack, he might have to repeat a year. And I'm feeling like I'm failing as a parent.
Just want to clarify, have you been able to voice these concerns with his doctors or school? So in this situation, asking more questions, trying to relate and validate their feelings can be so important for them to be able to connect with you and build that trust. You could respond by saying, I understand why you might feel that way, but I want you to know that I don't think you're failing as a parent. From my perspective, you're doing all the right things. I'm here to support you as you keep trying. Letting them know that, you believe in them and you're giving them that hope will encourage them and empower them to keep fighting for what they're looking for. So our last scenario for suspected CTE caregivers.
I feel so stuck. My partner blames me for everything that's going wrong, but I don't know what I can do.
That is so, so difficult. I hear you. Can you provide some examples of what you mean?
Sure. My partner gets mad when I turn on the lights without telling them or when I remind them that they forgot something. I don't understand why they get so upset with me.
Gotcha. I see what you mean. It does seem like you're in a difficult position. Are you feeling safe and supported? So in this scenario, you want to try to listen for opportunities to suggest CLF as a resource. You can say, when the time comes, the CLF helpline has an excellent list of providers for neurologists or mental health therapists or counselors that might be helpful to you. And, if you ever need that link, you feel free to reach out to me at any time. I can always provide that to you as the volunteer. And if there's anything else in that you need support on, please feel free to reach out to me, Mike, or Tay at any time. It's not too much and it's never too rude. We're always here to support you. So thank you for being so patient and listening to these role play scenarios. Not every conversation will look like these, but I hope the examples were useful in a way to use active listening in your connections.